Friends, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. Today we are going to be doing my wrap up for the month of May. We have a few books stacked here. You can see my arm is here. There's some here. I've read so much. I think a lot of my books that I read this month got high ratings. There were a couple that I was a bit disappointed with. We're just going to start. Stats wise, I read 14 books from what I've logged. I think it's only 14, but you know what I'm like with keeping track of stuff, it might be more. That equates to 6,008 pages and 52.5 hours of audio. Which, if I'm looking over there, it's because my computer screen's there. I read and completed 14 books, but one of the books I had on my wish, on my to-read list was The Boy Who Steals Houses by C.G. Drews. And I did think going into this it wasn't going to be my thing. I can't even count this as anywhere near read, like on Goodreads. I've just removed it from my Goodreads. I think I have, if not I will be doing. There's no point. I got maybe 20 pages in. It just generally is not the kind of thing that I read. And the writing didn't grip me enough to make me interested in it. And it's disappointing because I feel like, because I don't like these kinds of books, that I'm not highbrow enough. So this follows a boy called Sam, and he's got a brother, and they are betrayed and abused by everyone that they've ever known, and they're trying to find a home together. And it's very much a contemporary, but I think there's a little bit of romance in it later down the line, because it mentions a girl in the back. It doesn't mention the name of the girl, but it says Sam meets a girl whose laugh is a burst of stardust. And so there's a bit of a romance plot, but it's not the kind of light-hearted romance that I would like from a contemporary. This is like a hard-hitting contemporary with a little bit of a love story in there. And I don't know if that love story is going to have a happy ending. It just wasn't my thing, and I feel really bad about it, but I will be unhauling this, and this will be going on the Vinted. Next up we have a 4-star, and it is Eragon by Christopher Paolini. This was supposed to be read in April for our May live show, but I read it at the beginning of May. This follows a boy called Eragon who, due to certain circumstances, ends up finding a dragon egg, hatching it, and then they become bonded. It's a boy and his dragon type story, but they're also going on a quest for things, for reasons. And most of you probably already read this, so there wouldn't be much spoilers, wouldn't be many spoilers in this, but I don't really want to say anything other than that in case some people who watch this haven't read the series. I was expecting a lot from this. I was told that he was only 19 when Christopher Paolini wrote this, so in hindsight maybe I shouldn't have expected as much as I did. You know, being a new author, coming into his writing style and stuff, but I just feel like Eragon was not a character that I could get behind, or that I wanted to get behind. I don't mind a morally grey character, I really don't. I can get behind morally grey characters, but when you are whiny and rude for the sake of being rude, and there's literally no reason for you to act that way, and when you feel entitled, I didn't like the way he came across. And I know that he's a young boy in this. I think he's 15 when we first meet him in this. I just don't like the way that he speaks to people. I look back, I do think that the voice of the dragon did also affect my entertainment or enjoyment of the whole book. It felt, the way that Saphira's voice was done, it felt like she was constantly shouting at Eragon. You were supposed to feel this kind of bond between them, this caring bond that was growing, and you just don't get that from these two at all. And that's a shame, because that's one of the reasons why I really, really wanted to enjoy this series, why I really thought I was going to enjoy this series, is because it was a boy and his dragon, and it's all about the bond, and I'm going through life together, so I was, yeah, it's a bit of a sad one. So next 4-star is Swordsman's Lament. This was so good. The reason it's got a 4-star instead of a 5 is because I feel like we didn't get enough. It's a very small book, and I feel like I would have liked to know more about Belasco, the main character in this. I know there is a prequel novella, that gives you more detail about his background, but I would have liked more in this, and there were certain situations that I would have liked a bit more in-depth detail into how certain things panned out, because you got what they needed to do and then what happened, but because of the length of the book you didn't get to get involved in all the planning and things of said activity that they were undertaking, if that makes any sense. I don't want to spoil anything, but I would have just liked a bit more explanation on how they got from A to C. Like the B in the middle would have preferred to have a bit more fleshed out. But I really enjoyed the characters, I really enjoyed the story, and this was a recommendation from Dom from Dominish Books, so thank you very much, Dom. I am excited to carry on to the sequel of this, but also get the novella. So the next 4-star is Before They Are Hanged by Job Abercrombie. I gave the first one of these 5 stars. Give this one, did I give it 5? I think I did, and then give this one 4 stars. There were certain things in this that I just didn't understand. There was some sex scenes in this that didn't really make sense to the story. They weren't required to further the plot, like to build the relationships that were being built within these sort of like acts. I didn't see the point in them. I didn't get how that connected with the plot and everything else that was going on. This is a very, very character driven book as well. You do get a bit of plot and you do get to know what's going on. I still have no idea or no theories on how this is going to end. Normally by the end of book 2 I'll have some kind of theory of how I think it might end or how I want it to end, but this I have no idea. We're following 3 separate people. We've got Glocta, Logan and Jazal. They're the 3 main POVs that we follow. But within that we've got now Colonel West, and there was a character that we met that was very intriguing, and we find out a link between a couple of the characters, but then we don't hear anything off the back of it. Like nothing else is built onto that or anything. So it was just a couple of things like that were sort of missing. I think, and I'm hoping that they all come together in book 3, and the things that was missing in this one sort of all make sense by the end of book 3. But I haven't seen the physical copy, but it would need to be a little bit thicker than this to fit in everything that I think it needs to fit in to get to like an adequate conclusion of the series without feeling rushed. Because the other 2 books that we've had, they've been very character based and very character focused with bits of plot interwoven into it. For them to sort of switch it and to be more plot heavy, it might just throw off the whole vibe of the book. So I don't know how he's going to bring this series together, but I'm interested to find out. We are reading The Argument of Kings in June, me and Meg, so it's got the pretty hardcovers though, which I'm happy about. Okay, the next book we've got is Ghost of the Shadow Market. I don't know where I put my physical copy, but that's what we read for the By the Angel Along, and I gave that 5 stars. I really enjoyed following Jem's story, and throughout the years I really enjoyed all the characters in there and all the individual bits. It was just, it didn't make me cry the way that people thought it was going to do, and I'm shocked that I didn't cry, but it was still very, very good, and I still really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to read The Red Girls of Magic, which we're doing a live show for next week, so I need to read that. But that was so good, and just another Cassie smashing out of the park again. It was great. No Land for Heroes by Cal Black. This was a 5-star read for me. I really enjoyed this. It follows a deputy sheriff called Millie who does something that isn't 100% legal at the beginning of the book, and it's an investigation really into what's happened, why it's happened, and then there's a mystery behind somebody that she knows. You could tell that she's got secrets that she tried to hide from someone, but you can also tell that it's because she's sort of scared, not because she's really doing anything particularly wrong. But there's a few characters in here that just make me chuckle. You've got, Milne is very sort of hard-faced. She's been through a lot, but she does everything for her kids. Her little girls, she dotes on them, and her little girls are rebels. They don't factor much into the book, like they don't have much dialogue in the book. They're just mentioned quite a bit, but the short period that they're on page, they are just adorable. I had the most fun with this. I think I read this in maybe like 1 or 2 sittings. I think it was such a quick read, and I would highly recommend reading this. I am excited to get to book 2, which is No Port in a Storm, or No Port for a Storm, I think. And again, I can't really say much more than that. I think you should read it. It's like a Western fantasy, which I'd never read before. It was really good. I highly recommend that you try it out. And this was another recommendation from Andrew, from Andrew's Wizardly Reads. So I appreciate that, thank you. At the beginning of the month, I did a reread of Love on the Brain, and I gave it 5 stars. I am well aware that this is not the most amazingly well written book. It's not going to win any literature awards, but I read these books just as palate cleansers, a bit of a quick read. For me, it's 5 stars. The next 2 I'm going to show you together, and these are Serpent and Dove and Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin, and I loved both of these. I'm kind of worried because I've heard it's the 3rd one that lets it down, and I don't want this to be a thing. These 2 were really good. This did not suffer from middle book syndrome at all. Not at all. I gave this 4 stars first time round. This is a reread, and I give it 5 stars this time round because I paid attention more. I picked things up. I loved it. And then this one near the end made me cry. And then left us on a cliffhanger like, what the hell? I don't know why you would do this to me. And next month, me and Lindsay, everybody reading Gods and Monsters. So let's see if I can round off the trilogy with another 5 stars. So this follows a girl called Lou, who's a witch, and Reed Diggory, who's a witch hunter. It's like a romance, so you can guess what happens with them. And it's more than that, but I don't want to give too much away. It was just really quick reads, and I would highly recommend both of these. Not sure I recommend the series yet, and we'll find out near the end of next month. Next up we have the Christopher Long book for the month of May, and Aurora Burning. The hurt, the ouchie. So this guy on the front is Cal. He's Space Legolas, and he's brilliant. I really like him, and I like where the story's going, but also I don't like where the story's going, and I don't know what's going to happen. I'm scared. This follows, well, the first book follows a group called Squad 312 who have been thrown together because on the choosing day where the alpha, Tyler, was able to choose who he wanted to have on his team. He was like the best from the academy. He was able to pick his own team, but whilst they were going through that like ceremony, that choosing thing, he was out rescuing Aurora from the void, and that's a place where no one should have really survived, but she ended up surviving. Book 2, there's a lot of tension between the team. Things are said. Aurora is becoming more powerful. It's a lot. That's all I want to say. But the end of this made me cry, and quite a few bits near the end made me tear up. So I don't know what's going to happen in book 3 because it's called Auroras End, and I don't like the sound of that title. I don't. Just gonna put it out there. I don't like it. And then we're gonna get on to Girl in Red. This is my second Christina Henry book. The second book I've given 5 stars to, and it's like a thriller horror retelling of Red Riding Hood, and I didn't think I would like anything that was thrillery or horror. But for some reason, the way that Christina Henry writes, I seem to really love. I don't know why. I've now got to read, they're just down here, Red Queen, Lost Boy, Mermaid, Alice and Through the Looking Glass. I think they're the ones I've got left. I've been told by my partner and by Becca and Jem that I need to read Lost Boy, so that'll be coming next on my TBR in a couple of months. But this follows a girl called Red. Okay, I'm going to put my hand up for spoilers because it doesn't say on the back what happens, and I feel like it's sensitive topic, so people might want to know before going in, because I don't want your enjoyment to be affected by the fact that this comes up. So I'm going to put my hand up, and if you don't want to know, skip ahead to where my hand's down. So this follows Red and her family and what happens after a virus hits. And it's actually referred to at one point as a pandemic, and it starts with coughing, and it's like an airborne virus, or so they believe, and they have to wear masks, and Red is prepping she's like a doomsday prepper, and she's preparing for everything that could possibly go wrong, and potentially having to leave the area that they live to go to a safer space. There's government people involved. It's all very reminiscent of a certain pandemic we've just come out of that's still affecting the world. So if that is something that you can't read about, even though it's not our actual pandemic, but it's very, very, very similar, then I would highly suggest that you don't pick this up if that's an issue for you. But if that's not an issue for you, pick up and read it. So, events happen. Red is having to go to Granny's house. That's all I'm going to say. The eeriness that Christina puts into her books, but as the intrigue, I was turning the pages on this because I needed to know what happened. There's also a bit of a found family vibe in this as well, which I didn't expect going into this book. So it has tropes in that I like, and I don't know if it's just the way the narrator was or if it's the way that the book is written, but I really do like these retellings. So if you have any authors that have a similar vibe and writing style to Christina Henry that do write outside the fantasy and genre, then please let me know, because I would be interested in checking them out, because clearly I like some thrillery horror things. Next up we have Astrid Packer Doesn't Fail. This is the companion book sequel in the series to Delilah Green Doesn't Care. Delilah Green Doesn't Care. This one was 5 stars for me. There is something in this that annoyed Smash, and it was a spoiler, but I did ask her to tell me what the issue was before going into it. If I hadn't known it going in, I would have got annoyed. In Delilah Green Doesn't Care, Astrid and Delilah are stepsisters, and they have quite a tenuous, strained relationship for reasons that are uncovered and unravelled in book 1. But I love how in this one everything isn't just miraculously better, and they don't miraculously have a perfect relationship and everything's hunky-dory. They're still working through their stuff, which I like, because it shows a bit of consistency, and it's a bit more realistic, because if you've gone through what they've been through, you're not suddenly just going to be best pals. It's not going to happen. And I like the way that's been done. I love the way that Astrid is written. Jordan is the love interest, and she is a great character. I would highly recommend that you get this, and I would highly recommend the audiobook, as always, because I read it on audio and it's brilliant. And my second to last book, and I'm really, really sad that this is I can normally do my favourite last, but I can't pick between this one and the other one that I read, so I'm gonna pick 2 favourites for this month, and I know that that's cheating, but I don't care. So my first favourite is this, and I'm not gonna go too much into this because I've mentioned this so many times, but this is Holt. This is Ash. He finds a dragon egg, finds out that the dragon is blind, and it's about their bond and them growing together and learning to be a dragon rider and dragon and work on their magical bonds and stuff. It's great. It's brilliant. Halt's in a world where dragon riders can only be noble born, and so Halt's name is Cook. My surname is Cook, and basically what your surname is what you are. So he was an apprentice cook to his father, and he was supposed to grow up to be a cook. That's the most he could acquire for himself as far as his family, because it's like know your station kind of thing. But Halt's like, no, I want to be a dragon rider. And I just think the bond is adorable, the story is great, and I can't wait to finally get to meet Michael, because I would love to have these signed. It would be amazing. I do have Unbound, and I do plan on reading it, and as soon as I've read it I will be getting Defiant, because it's also stunning and I'm so excited to read it. I'm trying not to talk too much about that book because I've mentioned it quite a few times, but I would highly recommend, if you love Dragon is Boy and His Dragon, wholesome, questing, fun fantasy books, then I would suggest check it out. But finally, my last 5-star read of the month was Bookshops and Bone Dust. I was surprised. A full review on that and Descendant will be coming soon, but Bookshops and Bone Dust was gifted as a NetGalley arc, and I also got a physical copy at Comic-Con. But it took me a while to read Bookshops and Bone Dust, but not because I wasn't enjoying it, because I was taking my time with it. Finished up my way to London, and it was so good. The characters were more fleshed out, still the same wholesome feel, still gives me all the cozy vibes, and it was just amazing. So I ended the month on a high. It was one of the last books I read, and it was so good. Hi, Editing Lisa here. I forgot to tell you how I did for Royal Readathon. So I was able to fulfill the prompts with 4 books. Initially I wanted to fulfill some of the prompts with Shadowgate and Red Scrolls of Magic, but I'm only 1 chapter in. We're now on the 2nd of June, and I don't really think it's fair to try and include that now. So I did go back and I looked at my reads that I have completed, and I was able to squeeze the prompts in to the books that I've already read. So Ascendant fulfills quite a few prompts. It fulfills Atlantis, which was underrated, Tangled, which was sun on the cover, Mulan was societal standards, Hercules, which was strength, Sword in the Stone, which was learning, and Encanto, which is small community. So there was that. Girl in Red completed Pinocchio, which was a horror or thriller, shiny cover because it's a glossy cover, an animal on the cover, which was the Aristocats prompt. And then Aurora Burning completed the Snow White prompt, which was Family Dispute, Peter Pan, which was Adventure, and the Transformation prompt, which was Raya. And then Love on the Brain was Oliver and Co. set in a city. So I fulfilled all my Royal Readathon prompts, and I'm really happy about that. Back to the Lisa we go. That's it. If you do like me and you want to see more of me, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. If you're here and you want to let me know you're here but you don't have anything to say, please leave a black heart. It's very much appreciated. And until next time, enjoy what you're reading or watching. I'll see you all very soon.
Tell me why every time I fall in love it seems to be